Hello friends, today we are going to learn about the divisions of skeletal system. So without wasting time, let's start with the scene. As you can see over here, the skeletal system can be divided into two, axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. In the picture you can see the axial skeleton, which is shown in a blue color, which is a central part of the skeletal system. So in our body, whatever the skeleton we are having with in a middle, that is called as the axial skeletal system. And whereas the appendicular skeletal system, it is the skeletal part which is present in our extremities. So that one is denoted over here in a pink color. So axial skeleton is going to helpful for the protection of different vital organs like brain, heart, etc. Whereas appendicular skeleton, it will be helpful for the different kind of movements like standing, sitting, and other kind of movement during the exercises. So this is how our skeletal system is divided into two, axial and appendicular. But before moving towards the particular topic, let me just give you a brief idea about the different terminologies which you might come across studying skeletal system. So here you can see anterior view. Anterior view is your front part of the body, whereas posterior view is referring about your back part of your body. In this video, we are going to learn about axial skeleton. For the detailed information regarding appendicular skeleton, you need to go through my another video whose link I have already shared in the description box. The axial skeleton contains skull, vertebral column, thoracic rib cage, and sternum. We will see them all one by one in next few minutes. These bones are usually flat and irregular in shape. The main function of these bones is to protect our vital organs like heart, lung, brain, etc. Apart from protection, they also support our body. This axial skeleton is composed of total 18 number of bones that you can see over here. 22 bones in skull, 6 in middle ear, 1 hyoid bone, 26 in vertebral column, and 25 in thoracic cage. Starting with the first most important part of our skeletal system, that is skull, which help protect our delicate brain. A whole skull is divided into two sets of bones. First is cranium bones, which are also called as calvaria, and another is facial bones. Cranium mainly protects our brain, whereas facial bones are going to make up our face. Here you can see the upper portion is cranium or calvaria, and below that particular figure you can find out the facial bones. This cranium is not a single bone, but actually it is made up of 8 different bones. These bones are attached with each other by zigzag edges. These are seen in the picture over here, zigzag lines. These zigzag lines are called as sutures. The 8 bones which creates cranial bones are occipital, parietal, frontal, temporal, sphenoid, and ethmoid. From all these, only parietal and temporal bones are 2 in number. Otherwise, all others are only in 1 number. Occipital bone is the lowest bone at the back side of our skull. It has one large circular shaped opening, and that shaped opening is called as foramen magnum. From this foramen magnum, a spinal cord is attached. Above the occipital bone, 2 parietal bones are present at both the sides of our body. It covers large area of our skull. Its shape is quadrilateral, means it has 4 sides. After parietal, there comes frontal bone. It is central portion of our cranium. One frontal bone is attached to both the parietal bones. This bone you can see it is not only covering our forehead portion, but it is also coming down up to roof of our eye and nasal cavity. Temporal bone is seen at the lateral sides of our body, as shown in this picture. There are two in number at each side. Sphenoid bone is present at the base of skull in front of occipital bone. When you see this bone from the front side, it looks like it's having a shape of bat bird. The last cranial bone is cubical shaped ethmoid bone. It fills the space between two orbits. That was all about the cranium bones. Now let's talk about the facial bones. There are 14 bones on our face. 2 nasal, 2 palatine, 1 vomer, 2 turbinates, 2 lacrimal, 2 zygomatic or you can say cheekbones and 2 maxilla and 1 mandible. Nasal bones are 2 in number and are situated between our eyes. Palatine bones forms a posterior portion of hard palate. Whereas vomer is a thin vertical bone that separates our nasal cavity. Turbinate bone is a spongy bone and it is a curved project from our outer wall of nasal cavities. Lachrymal bone are the smallest bone from all this and it is very fragile. Zygomatic or cheekbones, they unite together in front with maxillae. Maxillae forms our upper jaw, where upper set of teeth are going to get fitted. Whereas mandible bone is going to form our lower jaw, where lower set of teeth are going to get fitted. From the skull bones, this one is the only bone which is movable. That was all about the skull, the different bones present in our skulls. So now let's talk about the vertebral column, or you can say spinal column. The another name of this vertebral column or spinal column is also the backbone. If any animal is having vertebral column in its back, then those animals are called as vertebrates or craniata. The animal who do not have backbone are called as invertebrates. As discussed, this vertebral column is also called as spinal column or spine. It is consist of so many small bones called as vertebrae. If you are going to refer about only one bone, then it is called as vertebra. So vertebrae is a plural form of vertebra. Each of these vertebra present in our vertebral column are separated from each other as well as united with each other by the intervertebral disc. It's your perspective whether you think that each vertebra are separated by intervertebral disc, or you can think like that all these vertebra are united with intervertebral disc. Both are correct. So both this vertebrae and intervertebral disc forms your backbone, or you can say vertebral column. This backbone forms an axis to which other bones of our skeleton are going to get attached. The example is skull, thoracic cage, etc. Here you can see the structural segment of spine. One important function of vertebral column that includes that it supports our body. It connects skull to the pelvic region. It sends the weights of our upper region to the pelvic region, where it is going to get transmitted through our two legs. Not only this, backbone also protects our spinal cord. There are total 33 vertebrae present, and from these 33 vertebrae, only upper 22 are movable vertebrae. As shown in previous picture, backbone can be divided into 7 cervical, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, and 1 pelvic region in which sacrum will be there and coccyx will be there. Sacrum is made up of 5 fused vertebrae, whereas coccyx is made up of 4 fused vertebrae. If you see in the picture of backbone, that backbone are becoming larger as they go downward. It is having its maximum size at the upper part of sacrum. This sacrum then tapers off into coccyx. Now let's see the structure of this vertebral column. It is consist of circular solid body with two neural arches. These neural arches forms a ring-like structure. From this bony ring, our spinal cord will pass. Spinal cord is a tube-like structure which is consisting of bundles of nerve fibers. Apart from the bony ring, vertebra consist three processes. These three processes which are present at each side are called as transverse processes, whereas projection on the back side in the middle is called as a spine. In the skinny person, this spine can be felt by touching the back middle portion of our body. The difference between spinal cord and backbone is easy to understand. Spinal cord is a tube-like structure which consists of bundles of nerve fibers and it is covered by meninges and is surrounded by the cerebrospinal fluid, whereas backbone or spinal column is the central axis of skeleton in all it containing all the vertebrates. As we have discussed earlier that there is intervertebral disc present in between two vertebrae. It acts as a cushion. It protects sudden jerks to delicate spinal cord. Now let's see in brief regarding different parts of vertebral column. First is cervical. Cervical begins from the skull. This cervical, as discussed, are 7 in number. So they are labeled as or they are called as starting from the skull C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6 and C7 respectively. But first two vertebrae are different than other vertebrae in their structure. So C1 is given the name as atlas and whereas C2 is given name as axis. After the cervical, there comes thoracic region. There are 12 bones in thoracic region. They are labeled same like cervical region, starting from T1 to T12. This thoracic vertebrae contains demifacet as shown in the figure. From this demifacet, our ribs are going to get joined. After thoracic region comes a lumbar region. There are 5 lumbar vertebrae present in our body and same like others, they are labeled as L1 to L5. This lumbar region is shown in the figure light pink color border. No other bones are going to get attached with this, but these bones are the sturdiest because they are in a continuous stress from the weight of our upper part of the body. After lumbar, in the pelvic, sacrum is present. This sacrum is composed of 5 fused vertebrae. It is having wedge-like shape. This sacrum forms a posterior wall of pelvis. Here you can see that sacrum of vertebral column is joined with ilium of pelvis with sacroiliac joint at both the sides. Last one is coccyx. It is formed by fusion of 3 to 4 vertebrae. It is fused in such a way that together it forms a triangular shape. This bone is also called as tail bone as it is thought to be left over from our ancestors, means monkeys. We lost our tail, but we still have our tailbone remaining. So that was all about the structure of vertebral column. Now let's talk about the function of vertebral column. So the first function is that vertebral column is powerful and flexible pillar. It supports neural arches to form long bony tubes. It gives attachment to ribs and larger group of muscles of neck, chest and back. It also protects our spinal cord from shocks, accidents, jerks and injuries. Now without wasting time, let's talk about the thoracic cage. Thorax is formed from behind by thoracic vertebrae. Due to this, thoracic vertebrae are also called as dorsal vertebrae. Our thoracic cage is mainly made up of various ribs, but it also contains one important bone that is called as sternum. So let's talk about the sternum first. The sternum is also called as a breastbone. It is a flat and dagger-shaped bone. It has convex surface at the anterior region, whereas concave surface at the posterior surface. It is divided into 3 parts at the upper side. The manubrium in the middle body region, which is also called as a mesosternum, and at the end, xiphoid process. Manubrium is a triangular in shape and it joins with the clavicle as well as first and second costal cartilage. Whereas body is attached to third and sixth costal cartilages to the ribs. The ribs are attached to sternum at intervals, mean it is having some gap in between their attachments. Xiphoid process sometimes remains cartilaginous, but it is usually ossified partly in adults. If we talk about the ribs, well then, there are total 12 pairs of ribs present in our body, and these pairs are situated at both the sides. They are curved, flat, and strip-shaped bones joined at the thoracic vertebrae at the bedside. Each rib forms an elliptical elastic arch. These ribs are movable at the sides, means they move with every breath we take. This thoracic cage protects our various vital organs like heart and lung. There are various muscles present which also attach with thoracic cage. These ribs are not situated horizontally, but they are slightly inclined downwards and forwards. Last 5 ribs are called as false ribs because these 8th to 10th ribs are not directly attached to sternum via costal cartilage, but for the ribs of 8th to 10th, costal cartilages are attached to costal cartilages of next higher ribs. That is why they are called as false ribs. 11th and 12th ribs are also called as floating ribs as they do not attach with the sternum. When we breathe, maximum movement found in our lower part of the thoracic region. So that was all about the axial skeleton. Hope you guys understand the same. Don't forget to subscribe my channel for my upcoming videos. Thank you so much.